Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, we're talking about the most complex topic ever that nobody in the world understands, and that's how to organically get found on Google. At least I don't understand it. Maybe I'm projecting and I'm speaking for everybody, but I have an expert guest who does understand it, Barb Davids. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. I'm excited to talk about all things organic, Google, and who knows where else we'll talk about.
All things organic. Are we talking about food too, like peppers and
oh, hell no. I am not
no,
definitely not that. Although that would be good. I could learn more about that, but I
maybe.
don't.
How about another episode? We'll come back. We'll talk about organic food and how it relates to Google. I don't think it does at all. But in this episode, we're talking about Google, organic, SEO, all that fun stuff. Am I projecting, or is that true? Do most people find this quite confusing?
Yes, they find it confusing, frustrating, irritating, all the words, because there's so much information out there, I think is what it is. And there's so many different perspectives. I think it's a lot like a lot of industries, but more so this one because it is also like a longevity play. Like when you talk about SEO and you try to, which stands for search engine optimization, you're trying to optimize your website to get found in Google. It can take a little while. And so people don't quite know where to start, and then they don't know how long to wait. Does it work for their business? And I think a long time ago, it also came from like agencies who would say, hey, let me get you at ranking number one. And you can't really promise that. But people fell for it because people sell really well sometimes. And I think that there was a misunderstanding that they can't do that. And so it kind of became like a really icky sort of subject. And now I think it's getting way better, quite frankly. And I think it's getting more known that if somebody says, hey, I can get you to page one, or I can get you to rank number one with this keyword, that's not necessarily true. But essentially, it's basically just trying to get in Google where people are searching, which we'll probably go into a whole nother conversation in a second, but trying to get website to your traffic from Google, which is where people hang out.
Yeah, I remember growing my first business. I don't know how I did it. It was all my own. It was organic. I didn't put any thought into it, but I was ranked locally number one very, very quickly, like within a matter of months. And like I said, please don't ask me how I did it. I have no idea. But it was one of the things that really was the catalyst to growing my business, to explosive growth. Like as soon as that happened, my business took off over the next 4 years before I sold it. And I don't think people understand how powerful it is. I think we have an idea, but especially for a business like that, a local business, I mean, it could be make it or break it if you're ranked highly on Google. So I want to talk about, before we dive into kind of where search is moving, you have a quote sweet 5-step framework to improve your SEO. So do we want to break that down a little bit?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I try to make it easier for people to like know somewhere to start, like just a very simple, easy way that they can start on by themselves. It's not complicated. They don't have to hire anybody to do it. It's just something to get moving in that direction, because a lot of people will set up their website and be like, okay, well, there's my website. Where are the people? And that's not going to happen. It's not like a build it and they will come type of thing. So I built this framework called SWEET, SWEET. And basically it is, S is select a keyword. So Google typically will serve up pages or results. You'll see those blue lines and a bunch of things you can click on per page. So if you have a page on your website that matches somebody that is searching for whatever you serve or you sell or offer, then it will serve up your page. So if you select a topic or keyword that your audience is looking for, that's the first step. And usually that's a core keyword. Like for me, it's SEO consultant, but I might talk about analytics or on web, or like just different areas of SEO. And so then you have your keyword. And then you're going to work on a blog post. So basically, you're going to create an article around that topic. And so I think a lot of people feel icky about that too. That's another part of it. It makes it seem more complicated, but it's not so bad if you hire out. I mean, a lot of us are not writers, and we can find people that can write for us, or even if you just find a different way to do it, like talking to a recorder and get it transcribed. There's so many different ways now to do things that we don't like. So if we can create a blog post around that topic, that's the next step. That's the W. And then we're going to enhance the summaries. So when you go into Google, you'll see the listings. Those are page titles and page descriptions. We're going to enhance that part of our page so that when somebody comes and sees our page on the search results, that I kind of think of this like a window shopping display. Like they're kind of browsing around down the sidewalk. They're looking through the page, the different options. Does the window display something that you like to see? Does this page title and page description entice you to want to click into the website to see more? So enhance those summaries so that they're more clickable, not clickbaity, just more clickable. And then the second E is, now I'm going to forget what it is. I'm forgetting my own framework.
Well, while you look it up, I must say I am biased to clickbait. I love clickbait titles. Not for your website though. I don't advocate that. That should be truthful.
Yeah. There's ways you can do it to make it exciting, but not clickbaity, right? That's the whole thing, being honest with it. But the next one is E, establish trust. This is the big one, especially now with the whole AI thing coming out and a whole bunch of content that's not necessarily generated by a human. How can you trust the content that you get? So if you establish trust on your page, it makes it more likable to the person who's reading it, but also to Google, because those are signals that they look at. So things like having an about page is a good idea. On the blog post itself, putting an author bio at the bottom. A lot of people forget that you can put that down at the bottom to say, hey, real human creating this content. And so that builds some trust on it too. And then putting information like, not a lot of people want to put their address, but maybe the city, or even just like a privacy policy helps, which you almost, I think, have to do legally. But so establishing trust when somebody comes to your website, does it look like it's trustworthy? And then finally, it's T, which is tell the world. So you want to make sure that once you do the blog post, you publish it out to all your social channels or whatever channels you have, but not just once. That's the thing. You can't just do it one time and hope that people will find it. You have to keep redistributing it over time and periodically. So that's the SWEET framework.
I like it. That seems simple, but also like a lot of work. So if you're a business owner and you understand that, maybe you can do some of those things, maybe you can't or you don't want to. I fall into the don't want to. I don't want to touch any one of those 5 letters. What's the best path there? Because is it better? What I'm really getting at, is it better to not do it at all rather than just to like literally go spend $10 on Fiverr for somebody to do this? How do you recommend tackling that?
So it is going to be based on budget and what your energy level is. You certainly can have every right to go over to Fiverr and pay somebody to do this. Now, I wouldn't expect that you would want to pay somebody $5 to do this. Would you pay a mechanic $5 to work on your car? Would you pay the plumber $5 to work on your plumbing? So for something that you want it to work, I wouldn't necessarily undervalue what they're doing. So that's one thing to consider. So if you're paying really cheap, or you want to do it cheap because you just don't want to do it, you're not focusing or putting the effort into actually making it work. So you can go there, but I wouldn't do that, like that low budget thing, because that's kind of what that's indicative of, or that Fiverr. But you can work with people. I mean, you can work with myself. You can work with other companies. You can hire a VA to do some of the pieces. You can hire a copywriter. Some copywriters make sure they know the SEO altogether when they're writing, but some of them will even potentially publish it for you. It's just a matter of finding that person. And then I'm going to get a little woo-woo. I think it's about making sure that when you want to do this, that you focus on it. If you do it half-assed, it's not going to work. That's the whole thing. It's just like when you sell, or when you're looking for clients, or you're doing your financials. It's the exact same thing. It's just another piece of your business, which SEO is part of marketing. Now, I wouldn't say like every single industry is going to focus on SEO. Things like dentists, they don't do as well with SEO, or maybe they do well, but that's not how they generate their traffic and their business income or their patients, right? They probably do more with some local SEO. They need to show up in maps, but they probably get a lot from referrals. And there's some other ones too that SEO in its traditional sense by around blog posting isn't the thing. But if that's part of your marketing, you do want to spend time on it. And if you're going to work on it, you want it to work. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's woo. I think that's common sense. You get out what you put in, right? And that's really what I was getting at, because I see so many people just saying, I know I need it. Let me just go spend $5 and get it done. Well, you might as well just not do it. That's my personal philosophy. Now, you touched on something, and we talked about this before we started recording, but I'm interested to explore more about it. We have people moving from traditional search to AI search, typing it in ChatGPT, Gemini. I use Gemini all the time. I love it because it kind of does that filtering for me, but then I can also go one click right over to the Google website, or the Google My Business page, so I can see all about that business. How is that impacting SEO? Or does the framework still work? Or is AI searching the same sort of database, if you will? Or how does that work?
Yep. The core principles are the same. You want to build content that's very much going to be able to get in front of the people that you want to get in front of. So that still stays. And the reason being is because, here's the difference between traditional SEO and AI SEO, or the way that things come up. So traditionally, Google has the line items. They have each individual thing that you can click. And when you go to AI, or if you see it in Google, you'll see at the top, it says AI overviews, or like what you're doing with Gemini, or like Perplexity is another common one. When you type in a search, it brings back a synthesized detail of all the results that it can find on the web. So it goes out and looks at all the different websites, just like Google does. It just brings it back in a whole different way is the difference. And then it says, okay, well, I found all of this information from these 5 websites. Now, some of the thing that we aren't able to really see yet, but some people are doing studies to like infer how this is happening. Some of the tools are pulling from existing high-ranking results on Google, and some of them aren't. So if you do all of the baseline SEO stuff, you're only helping your business to be able to show up in AI overviews. So, because whether or not you show up in rankings, well, one, if you can, it's probably better anyway, because Google still has the biggest market share. But if not, then at least maybe you're still getting out there, because the AI tools, whatever you want to call them, I don't know what to call them still. There's like so many different ones, but they go out and they look at the web to see, okay, who can answer this question? And so what changes technically from a business perspective is we're not just taking one keyword per page. It used to be that like you could only talk about one thing per page because Google would serve up by page, right? It was a one-to-one almost. But now with AI overviews and Perplexity and Gemini, because they're correlating is it correlating or whatever? They're grabbing like all of the things from the internet. So they're looking at, did this answer the question, but is it also going to answer the next question? So how much more can you tell me about that? So where we might have just answered one question before, we probably want to answer like 3 questions in our blog post. So it's the first one and then the next 2 that the person might ask. This doesn't mean that we should continue to like, sometimes people got really crazy with blog posts and would tell the background of something 20 times, or they would go into stuff that didn't matter. But it's more about just satisfying the question. And it's definitely more around informational stuff still at the moment. So if you're a transactionally based business, so your core keyword is more transactional in nature, you probably don't have to worry as much in the same way as the websites that do all of their website traffic from informational type stuff. So like the Knot has a lot of information, like magazine worthy type websites. This is going to affect them quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like having a blog is actually more important, only because of I totally forgot about the AI summary. But yeah, when you type anything into Google, how to tie my shoes, it gives you the AI summary. So it has to be pulling that information from somewhere. And you would think that, I know you said we don't have this data, but you would think that those first couple of websites that are listed underneath that are where it got the bulk of that information from. Yeah. So if you are just putting out a website that's, selling shoes,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to necessarily, you're not going to be found by that AI summary is what you're getting at. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, because definitely if you go in there and you type in, Adidas shoes or whatever shoes, it's going to come up with shopping type results versus like an answer. That's the difference right now.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the landscape, like you said, it is changing so rapidly with
Mm-hmm.
the adoption of AI. I know we mentioned the Google getting deemed a monopoly, but like it's a monopoly that everybody loves. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not a fan of that one. Can't live without Google.
Yeah.
Where do you foresee this topic of SEO, SEM going over the next couple of years, and what should me and our listeners as the business owners be focused on?
I think it's the best thing to focus on is creating content that allows you to spend the least amount of time remaking content is basically what it is. I think sometimes we get stuck in having always to create something new, but I think a better option is to create like one big piece or have a source piece of content. Maybe it's a blog post and or a podcast or something bigger or longer or even just a video, and you can cut it up and then share it everywhere so that you are spending less time on like that side of things rather than focusing on the clients and their customer service. So the content piece doesn't have to be as time consuming as it may seem like. It's just a matter of sitting down and thinking about it. And I think where this is going is more video. I mean, we've been talking about video for like some odd thousand years, but I do think that this is a bigger one now because it also brings into the fact of, okay, how do you differentiate yourself from human from AI? Because at some point, even though there's a lot of great AI stuff out there, at some point people are really going to get disgusted with it and they're going to be like, okay, this is generated by an AI. That's not who I want to work with. I want to work with a real human being. And so that's one way with video that you can do that. So I think doing some of that longer form content would be good because eventually Google is going to lose out. They are going to lose some of that search market share. I mean, they've already started talking about like in 4 years or something like that, some studies, but there are so many different platforms having out there. I think we are going to get super fragmented in how people are searching for the information that they're looking for. And it's only going to get worse because everybody has their own way of doing things. And so I think that's one thing we have to consider is being very diverse in our market and how we do our business marketing, making sure that we have different ways of getting that. Because like, think about this, all of the businesses that have been putting all of their effort into SEO only, which of course I'm going to be biased and love, but the problem with that is that now their traffic is going down because things are changing and it's only going to continue to go down next year and the year after that. It might not be like a big windfall off, but you can start to see the trend of that happening. So I think giving some thought to content marketing and the diversification of the channels that you're marketing with, I think that's probably where to start.
I like that, and I like the tip of using video because you can show your authentic self. You can be real. We are two real people. Well, actually, you know what, Barb? I don't know. We haven't met in person. Are you real or are you
This
AI?
is my AI clone, actually.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I will say this though. I mean, right now, at least, video AI is just not there. I mean, you can tell within a split second. Even if you can't identify it, your human instinct knows that is not a human being you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I put one of my I host another podcast with my business partner. It's just the two of us knuckleheads jabbering on about nothing. I put that into an AI and had it do a podcast episode about what we talked about. And it was way better than our episode. So I don't know. Maybe there's some value to to having AI involved with what you do. But for this podcast, you can't replace Barb. It's just impossible. So Barb, I want to
I'm
thank you for being
irreplaceable,
here.
Brandon. There's just that.
Irreplaceable. It's your new tagline, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. Well, if if the listeners, they know they need this. First of all, let's just say that you need this. So if you're listening, you need this. If they want to reach out and learn more and have you help them with their SEO, with their web presence, where's the best place for them to go?
The single best place is compassdigitalstrategies.com. Everything is there.
Awesome. I love it. And you have a podcast as well. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's called the Small Business Sweet Spot. And every week I put out a single solo episode around SEO and content marketing. And then I also do a guest interview around business improvement, personal improvement, and I use improvement loosely. It's just I like learning about like myself and things that I can do either better or different. And it's all around like because I'm a single business owner, around improving those different things. I don't have a really great way of saying it, but yeah, it's just like I had a yoga teacher on there once, and then sometimes I have people outside of my industry on there as well.
I love it. That's fantastic. I'll make sure all of that is down in the show notes below, including the website, compassdigitalstrategies.com. It's on the screen if you're watching. Otherwise, everything's down below in the show notes. Barb, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brandon. I appreciate it.
Wherever you're watching or listening, please subscribe. We want to have you back. We put out 5 episodes a week to bring you content like this, content to improve your health, your mindset, your relationships, all of that stuff, everything that's important to be a truly successful entrepreneur. It's more than just the business. We want to help you build a more harmonious business and life. So we'll see you tomorrow on Harmonious at Lunch.